So welcome to this video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
I'm Andrea Marinov, and I work as a research fellow at the university, and currently I'm helping with the course.
Thanks, Jan. So we're going to have a look at a couple of games today handed in by our students for the second coursework. Johan, can you say a little bit about what we asked the students to do?
Yeah, of course. So we asked the students to make a story game based on 3 fables, and we specifically wanted to see the use of a story engine, which means that the game world affects the story in some way and vice versa. And we wanted it to be an interactive story with multiple endings.
Let's get on and have a look at our first game. Our first game up is called The Terror of the Tortoise. Okay, so I've got no title screen or anything. It looks like I'm straight into it. It says Lives 4. And is that supposed to be a tortoise? It looks like a sort of a I don't know.
Yeah.
I suppose it is a tortoise facing towards us, if you squint. Okay, there's no instructions on what to do. So I'm going to try the obvious things like, oh yeah, WAS seems to work. Oh no, hang on. A and D works, not W or S though. Oh, space jumps.
Okay.
It looks like I've got that. Phase 3.
Oh, okay.
See? Game over. You were not able to climb the mountain. Press E to restart. Okay. Alright, but this one I can jump up there maybe. Oh.
What does the flag do? Is that a checkpoint?
I was rather hoping it would be. But I can touch it. The evil tortoise is done with getting called slow. He challenges you, the hare, on a race to the top of the mountain. I thought I was the tortoise. He threatens to destroy you and your friends.
Okay.
Get some of his minions and kidnap your friends. Press spacebar to jump and arrow keys to move. Got to know this at the beginning, if I'm honest, but this is a bit weird, really. So it's a race to the top of the mountain, but
yeah.
Sort of slightly sticky jump.
Yeah, that's...
Spacebar. You're not doing anything.
Oh, interesting.
So I think when you're on the edge, it won't. We'll jump. I don't know. Not sure what's going on there. It sort of means you have to. The fastest route doesn't have your friends.
Okay.
To get to the top as soon as possible, you might want to leave them behind.
Okay, so that's the choice.
Power-ups that will help you in the journey. Take the fastest route. Follow the signs. See any alternative routes? It's a power-up. I thought, there's a helmet, but it's not. It's obviously some sort of. So okay. I'm back at the beginning again, and I've got to have all this. Yeah, still have all the same story elements. Still confused by this whole evil tortoise shtick, because I am a tortoise. I'm not a hare.
Maybe it's metaphorical. Yeah, and... Oh. Okay, so... okay. So that's the sign for the quicker way. But on the right is the one that saves your friend.
Is that right? It said follow the flags. I can't remember which way it said now.
I think it said the signs are the fast way.
Or did it say the flags were the fast way? Seems odd to gives you the choice, or it tells you about the choice, but not where the choice is. That's
try from below the platform. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's the.
Our friend, your friend gave you a power up.
You...
Jump again in mid-air.
Double jump. Okay.
Okay, I've got a nice double jump. That'll be handy. Okay. Need to use the double jump.
I mean, it's certainly. Yeah.
Actually, quite without any checkpoints, it is going to be very hard to get to the end.
Yeah, good thing that they added.
Got any?
Oh, I mean, those little things, you did respawn. Oh. You did respawn.
So there's a point where I do need the double jump. There we go. Another friend. Your friend gave you a power up. Is it more lives? Press Z to fire bullets at enemies. Z?
Oh, well, okay.
Z? I don't have a finger on Z. How am I going to do that?
That's... yeah.
Perhaps I'll tell you what I can do. If I use arrow keys work as well. So if I use the arrow keys for moving, and then it gives me.
Yeah, I see.
What do you reckon? Across there.
Oh, there's a. Yeah. So. Oh, okay, that
Straight away.
works. Let me see. That's.
Left is an elevator that heads straight to the top of the mountain. However, you feel you left someone behind. Okay, so it's giving me another choice.
So there's. Okay.
So it is quite a lot easier.
Oh, that's the. Oh. Be careful with that one.
Oh, I'm right at the back of the beginning again.
Yeah. It's a bit.
I lost a life. I might as well just restart, really. There.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So yeah, I think not having checkpoints is a mistake.
Or at least having lives, maybe that's the thing, because you did get a checkpoint before and it did spawn you.
See, when I run out of lives, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It's fair enough. It's fair enough in a game. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But because this is obviously for a let's play for this, it's very likely that we're not going to be able to finish the game. But let's find out. Maybe doing myself a disservice. Shall we start going through the criteria while I'm redoing this bit?
Yeah.
So we start off with present. Should I go the same way again? Or let's go the other way and see if that's. So should we start off with presentation?
Can you just not? Yeah.
Are you getting, I thought. I'm confused now. I thought I wasn't going to get power-ups this way.
Well, you still saved the friend because the elevator is very, in such a place that lets you do that.
But that's not the. I thought the whole
I know,
point.
yeah, it's a bit strange.
Very strange.
So now you have double jump.
Easy route. So yeah, presentation wise, so graphically it's very simple, but I kind of like it. I wish they'd done a bit more with the background. I think they could have. That would have helped an awful lot. But
Yeah. Uh, it's minimal, but all the sprites are there and it's clear what everything is.
So,
And also the lives counter, that's also clear.
go straight to the top of the mountain. Yeah, so I've got some sound effects. You reach the peak before the tortoise. Okay, perhaps I was a bit pessimistic about my chances getting to the top.
But you feel you left someone behind.
The end. Marvelous.
Okay.
Starting, I don't think. All right. Well, let's go and see if we can rescue everybody. Let's restart. Let's restart this.
Okay. Graphics wise.
Yeah, graphics wise, then. Yeah.
We have talked about it.
Audio. Yeah. So I like the graphics. It's got a little bit of audio. It's got some sound effects. I think all of that stuff is actually perfectly fine. Oh, that's a bit weird. I just fell through there just because I went.
Interesting.
What's going on with the hitboxes, maybe? Yeah, it's repeatable. What happens if I do it there? Oh,
wow!
It's just in the middle. That's very odd. Okay. Yeah. So I think the graphics are nice. A bit simple, but fine. Music again is simple, but I've got some sound effects and I've got a bit of music. Information design. I've got the flags showing me the kind of some of the key points. I've got the sign showing which way to go. My lives is there. It's strangely positioned, just floating around in the middle of the screen. But all that's fine. I mean, what would a satisfactory be?
Workable, which is effective, but some inconsistencies.
I'd say it's definitely workable, and I wouldn't say it's inconsistent. It's just a bit straightforward. What would good be?
Good is professional, which is complete and effective.
I would say that it's not quite.
Yeah.
Maybe halfway between the two. It feels like it's not quite complete and effective, but it's not inconsistent. So I would say somewhere between the two, maybe.
Yeah. That leads us to mechanics, controls, and bugs.
So,
so we have.
So the controls, the mechanics rather, I've got jumping, I've got double jump and shooting. I've also got the spikes that kill me. I've got patrolling enemies and flying enemies, and I've got the flags that activate. So there's, it's not going to set the world on fire, but there's a good set of mechanics that work together there, I think. Controls are fine. I feel like I can play. I wouldn't call them particularly intuitive, though. That's a weird little bug, where if I go the wrong way on a platform, I fall through it for some reason. So what would a satisfactory be for this?
Satisfactory is playable, which is simpler game with fewer mechanics. Usable controls may have some minor bugs.
I think that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, it's not difficult controls, and it's not critical bugs from what I see.
Right. I mean, what would a good be? I was supposed to begin this way, wasn't it?
Good would be engaging, a reasonably complex game with multiple mechanics and smooth controls, and maybe some minor bugs.
Well, it's not a million miles away from there. Be halfway between the two again.
Yeah.
It's. Okay. I mean, there's a couple of I think if they didn't have the double jump and the shooting later on, then.
That's true.
All these, there's plenty. There's quite a bit going on really. For a relatively simple platformer.
Yeah, and that leads us to the story engine.
So this I think is going to be interesting because this is what they've done is we sometimes make a distinction between a story as journey, where you're essentially making your way through typically through multiple levels normally, and that tells you a story, right? And story as drama, where the story is told through a series of events that occur not necessarily in a consistent place, but the story occurs no matter where you are, sort of thing. So you kind of it unfolds as you move through the space, and you need a story engine to do story as drama, right? You don't need a story
Yeah.
engine to do story as journey, because essentially you say you get to the end of this level and you play this little cutscene, or you get to this point in the level and you get this bit of information, and this feels to me quite close to story as journey, right?
Yeah.
So if we think about, I mean, and I think that's going to affect their marks when it comes to the sub aspect of story and game world. So if we think about, we're supposed to be looking at two aspects, right? So how much the game world impacts the story, and how much the story
Yeah.
impacts the game world. And I think the problem is if you think about story and game world, I suppose what they would be arguing would be, if you choose to save your friends, you get the additional power-ups, right?
Yeah.
But that's not really happening in the story. That's happening in the game world. So it's like in the game world, if I'm not making choices in the story, I'm making choices by choosing which way to go in a level.
Yeah, which is the game. Yeah, the game world. Hmm.
So if you think about so this is what I mean about what are the choices I make in the story? What are the dramatic choices I make that aren't going left or right? That are actually choices of narrative choices about.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's.
If you take it the other way around, so if you take it the other way around and we say game world to story, what do I do in the game world that impacts the story? Okay, and then and you have to make the same argument. It's like, well, you choose to go left or right. So if you accept that going left or right is in the game world, does that then impact the story? And that does to a certain extent, because then you don't encounter your friends, but they don't have any story impact. They just give you a bit of narrative, right?
Although,
Um,
from what I see from their notes, it does impact the ending that you get. So if you,
so we got to
depending
the
on
end.
if you save,
Yes, you're right, actually. So we've got an element there which is like, okay, if I went that route and I saved my friends, I get a little bit of different text at the end.
and in this case, it looks like you have a boss fight even
Oh, really? If I go that way,
if you save everyone.
okay, which seems a bit strange because you don't want me to miss out on important parts of the game. Oh, you don't want me to miss out on important parts of the game because I make a particular narrative choice. Basically saying, would you like to play the game or not? And if I say no, I take the elevator to the top of the mountain and the game ends.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, let's deal with them one at a time. So we've got the first one. This one is the story to
It's a game world to story.
Game world to story. So game world to story has a small effect in that. I wouldn't say. Let's have a look. Is this giving you narrative? No, there's no narrative here, right? I just get a power up. So the only bit of narrative I get that's different is at the end of the game. So the very, very, very minor difference. So if we think about that, what would be a pass?
Yeah, that's a few sparse or minor examples of where the game world impacts the story.
What would a poor be?
Yeah, that's where some supportful story elements in the game, but the game world has no real impact on the story. I don't think we're like the saving friends, all that, and then the different ending. That's something. So it is some kind of impact.
So it's sort of halfway between the two, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we don't have a few times, do we? We've got once at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I guess the story to game world, which
The story to game world,
even
there are no story choices. I mean, if you're being super, super generous, you'd say those choices about going left or right are story choices. They're just diegetic. Yeah, and then that does then affect the power ups you get. But oh, dear.
yeah. And don't forget double. You have a double jump.
Beastie. Oh. So, what would a pass be for?
Yeah, that's a few sparse or minor examples of where the story impacts the game world.
Okay, well, what would a poor be?
Yeah, that would be some support for story elements in the game, but the story has no real impact on the game world. I mean, some support for story elements.
I think that the problem is it really comes down to like this, here's my choice, right? Go left or right. So this is a mechanical choice in the game world.
Yeah.
Is it a dramatic choice? Well, they've told me that this way are my friends. Time. So yeah, is it a? Oh.
Yeah, is it a story choice?
Is it a story choice
Not.
when the problem is there's so little in the way of story elements? I mean, because you could say, well, you get different story depending which, but you get a different story at the end, I suppose. But then if it's a story choice, then it's not a game world choice, and therefore, for the other criteria, it should be a
Yeah.
It's tricky. We do talk about diegetic choices in the sessions, and in general, I quite like diegetic choices. I think that's choices, the narrative choices that you make in normal gameplay. Because you have to, they have to be framed as proper narrative choices, and by making them very mechanical, right? So if you do this, oops.
Yeah, you get
then you get a power up, and I know they've done that because we also wanted there to be consequences in the game world. So they're trying to do the right thing, quite working because the narrative isn't the narrative that they have isn't rich enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So a poor would be some support for story elements, right? I think given that we gave them some kudos for it in the other one, I think we should say it's a poor here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does that take us to?
To richness of choice. So agency and all that.
So those blooming things that float around. So in terms of richness of choice, what we're looking for is interesting choices where there isn't a right or wrong answer. And again, the problem is they've wrapped it with a mechanical choice. So in level design, we want to have choices about, do I go, so this is like, do I go the harder route but I get the power ups, or do I go the easy route but I don't get the power ups?
Yeah.
So I want to have those. I want to have those choices in level design. Those are different than the narrative choices, where the narrative choices are often, it's not better to do one way or the other, but rather it's like a sort of a what we call it, an internal decision, right? So it's sort of a grey decision. It's not obvious which is the right thing to do. They've wrapped both of those things up again in this. So I've got exactly the same problem. My mechanical and narrative choices are bound together.
Yeah, and from what I see, one of the big problems is the fact that if you don't save your friends or skip one friend or something, then the whole you just get the first ending we did. So you have to save everyone.
You basically miss out the whole game pretty much as well. So
yeah, so it would have been much better if they had the boss fight, even if you didn't get the power-ups, because then your choices kind of have a consequence of, oh, now I cannot shoot the boss and it's a bit harder or something. So I took the shortcut earlier, but now it's harder. But because they just say the end, that's very it's not.
So for the agency, what would be a pass, for example?
So some choices, but only a few are interesting choices.
Shoot, I can't remember if I even got the power up anymore. There we go, I have. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. What do you think?
So a pass.
Yeah, I don't think
do I have the choices?
Interesting choices.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't really. What would be a poor?
Your choices, player agency is problematic.
Yeah, and the problem with that is I don't really even have any choices. So and that would take us down towards the absent. Again, I think if we're being generous and we said that these choice points in the level are being framed as kind of narrative choices, what is a poor then?
Yeah, that's a story with no real choices of consequence.
Yeah. So the question is do we even have choices? Is it absent? And again, it does come down to these points where I go left or right. Is that a narrative choice or not?
And even then, for example, here you can just save your friend anyway.
It's another problem, right? I can save my friend and then just carry on up this elevator. I think kind of, again, I trying to, which way was I going? I was going this way, wasn't I? So I think kind of, well, if we were being generous, we'd say it was at the poor level, right? We say they've got some choices, they're wrapped up in going left and right on the level. The consequence of those choices is a bit vague, especially since you can seem to be able to get around them anyway.
And player agency is problematic basically because of that.
What's next?
Pacing. That's a bit better, I think, because there is, to me at least, it looks like there is some ascending pacing. Like the game becomes more and more difficult with more enemies.
There
but
is.
then the final peak that I don't think we
seen.
have a very nice.
I think I'd agree with you if it wasn't for the easy route, because the easy route ruins all the pacing,
that's
right?
true. Yeah.
It's just like that's really flat and doesn't even end with any kind of. These things are supposed to be bats or helmets or what they are. I hate them. Hate them with a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Otherwise. Struggling. It's going off my hand again.
That would be satisfactory. Some ascending pacing.
Yeah. So I think that if you take the right hand route, as it were, and go to save your friends, that is a satisfactory, right?
Yeah.
But if you go the left hand route and don't save your friends, then that's probably. I mean, what would a poor be?
That would be no serious attempt to control pacing.
Pass would be.
Pass would be unclear or flat. So pacing is unclear or flat.
Yeah,
it is flat.
Yeah, I think if you go that way, so I think if we say that if you go the left-hand route, it's poor, and if you go the right-hand route, it's satisfactory. That probably means that combined, it's a pass.
Yeah. And next one is the storytelling techniques.
So they only have one storytelling. They only have one storytelling technique, which is they don't really use that one at the end, do they? Which is the little dialogues that pop up when you hit the flags.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think they're used very effectively, right? Because what they're actually doing here is they're triggering bits of tutorial, right? I'm not meeting any characters. There's no dramatic or emotional involvement. When I save my friends don't even have a name. They just say, oh, now you can double jump. There's no narrative elements in here at all, right? So let's have a look at one. So one of my friends is up here, right?
Yeah.
See what happens, right? Is this narrative being told? Your friend gave you a power up. You can jump again in midair. Very, very bare bones, I would say. So again, what would be a pass?
Partially successful attempt to use at least one game writing technique.
And I think they've got that.
Yeah, and keep in mind we haven't tried the boss, so maybe the boss has a few bits and pieces more of that.
And we're
getting
nothing. So what would be a poor?
An unsuccessful attempt to use at least one game writing technique.
I think, and obviously absent means there's no serious attempt to use a game writing technique. So I don't think there's that, because I've got this. This is almost like a bit of narration. I think it's probably a poor. I think they've tried to do it, but it just hasn't worked. They've kind of they've for heaven's sake. It regenerated me into the path of a bat. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I think it's a poor. I think they've tried to do it, but it's not. They've not got enough narrative content. There's no storytelling going on. There's no characters. There's no plot. There's no events. It literally is just narrating the level. And whereas that games like Bastion or Transistor or I think it's better when it's well, even those games they went on to make Hades, which kind of embeds it within characters and has
Mm,
developments that occur as you play, and they've not got anything like that here.
yeah, exactly.
So, does that take us to feedback?
Yeah. So let's see. Initially, we were made aware of some issues pertaining to the decisions the player made during the story and how it impacted the world. Uh, so previously, they had a player that got a score when they saved a friend, which didn't change anything else.
Right.
And now we change it so now the player is visibly different upon saving, not saving a friend, as they receive a
Yeah.
power up. Okay, yeah.
So
So this,
so we did and ah over that, right?
yeah. I mean, but it is it's certainly better than
Definitely
just
better.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so again, they do mention that the decisions then lead to the ending of the game. Then we received some feedback on the smoothness of the controls. We fixed this, and upon further player testing, we did not receive any more comments. Okay. So we were made then aware of some of the aesthetics of the game not matching the overall theme, such as the font. We rectified this so that everything was coherent and we had consistent looks throughout the rest of the game. Again, that's.
I think that's worked. Yeah.
And final one. Upon some player testing, we were shown some holes in the story of the game, where our ending that were present did not cover all possible outcomes the player could do. So we had to add additional endings to cover this, to complete the story.
So that's presumably if I only save some of my friends.
So if you made it to the top, you get ending 1, which I
Yeah.
guess is just game over.
Yeah.
Or no, if you don't made it to the top, it's game over. If you make it to the top and you saved everyone and you beat the boss, that's the true ending. If you fail at the boss, that's another ending. And if you didn't save everyone, then that's another ending.
So the problem is we haven't even seen the boss, which is a problem. The game's too hard. There's some really unforgiving
Yeah.
bits. So going back to the sort of stuff we're looking for, of course, at one, the balance of difficulty stuff. Um, they do things like so they'll have a platform that you jump to, and then as you're landing on the platform, that activates a bat that you couldn't see previously, and that comes and kills you. So you have to learn the level.
Yeah.
So I think kind of yeah, they should have had probably the way I'd have done it is I'd have given the lives as a score and just not had lives at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've got the checkpoint system in place, which is great. But then you run out of lives and the checkpoint system stops working. It's like, well, no, let me get to the end having lost a bazillion lives and just use that as my score.
Exactly, yeah.
You saved your friends, but you lost 24 lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and because the lives themselves don't really have anything to do with the story, at least from what I can see.
No. It's unfortunately it's one of those things where we're so used to playing games like this where you have lives, so it's like you automatically reach for it without actually thinking about, well, why is it there? Does it have a function? Are there better ways to do it?
Yeah, exactly. So from the feedback I can see, only the first part seems like it's from the lab or from a person from the course, and the other ones are playtesting.
Yeah. So some of it was good, right?
Yeah.
So what would a satisfactory be?
Satisfactory. Feedback was addressed and the changes have been somewhat successful.
Pass would be...
Feedback was addressed, but the changes have had limited success.
We justify as satisfactory. They've got a couple of things they've done which have clearly made a difference, and the playtesting ones, are fine and don't really, they're not problematic.
Yeah.
Okay, so final thoughts. What do you think about this?
There's a lot of small things that were right, and I really liked. But it's such a shame because the ending. I wish I could see it.
Yeah.
But it looks fun. I would give it a try.
It's not a bad little platformer. The controls are a bit sticky, but you kind of get used to them. The level design is a little bit frustrating, but it's that. But I should know that one's there by now. So for me, the big problem they have here was this is supposed to be a narrative coursework, and there's just not enough narrative. There's no kind of dramatic plot. There's no character development. There's no characters really. They weren't trying to tell a story with the game. They were narrativizing a platformer. By giving you a little premise and then kind of
and
that just didn't give them enough to go with. They needed more narrative, more story in order to show those interactions between the two parts. But as a platformer, I think it's got a lot of potential. And actually, given that they had all the mechanisms in place to deliver a narrative, all they had to do was to develop it a bit more. It's kind of it feels like they've got 90% of the way there, but that last 10% had was a place where a lot of the marks and the success for this coursework were. So a lot of potential, but not quite realised, I think. Shall we move on to our next game?
Yeah.
So our next game is called Sheep Sabotage. So we had to run this one in the Unity editor because we couldn't get the exe to work. But I think we found the right scene. So let's play it and see what it looks like. Go. Panther has been brutalized in the nice village of Fraymore in a pit. Okay. Do. No instructions. A click, maybe? Our detective Bob to investigate. He has collected the following 3 pieces of evidence. Objection. Bob is wearing a hat indoors. It's a very good point. Defense. That doesn't help our case. Overruled. Bob, it's time for you to find and present your evidence. When you're ready to return to court, press X. Oh.
Interesting.
Let's get back to court. X.
Or maybe
Do I have to do something
you want
first,
to... Maybe, try to...
So I'm supposed to be collecting evidence to what's going on with the sheep. We'll press E to interact with John. John. Good day, John. Good day, John. Good day, John. Oh, that's interesting. If I press E again, it goes back and says, good day, John. So E just restarts the conversation. Mouse click.
I see.
Hang on. Mouse clicks. No. Good day, John. Hello. Good day, John. Good day. Good day. Oh dear. Do we have a problem here? Detective? It looks to me like this isn't working properly. Good day, John. Hello, detective.
Are you pressing with the mouse or how are you?
The mouse. E to interact. Well, space also moves it on. Hello, detective, and then off again.
I guess maybe that he doesn't have to say, or he doesn't have anything. Yeah, exactly.
Right, let's try Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Good day, detective. What are you doing here, Jeff? How are you today? Oh, do I pick one of these?
I think.
Doing here, Jeff? Just chopping some wood, detective. Nothing I do about that, Jeff. Tell me about this plank. Were you building a trap? Wood rot from the rain. Okay, and that's my interaction with him gone again.
That
Plank. Oh, can I look at the plank? Oh, why am I going backwards?
Oh,
Going that way.
did you?
Oh, hang on. Go up.
You can still try to go to the plank. You can still interact maybe with it. Not anymore.
We have a problem. Right. I'd say that hasn't worked. So I'm not touching anything, and I'm just sort of gradually sailing off into the distance. I think
okay.
let's restart. Let's try again. It's a bit unfortunate. Right. So, but it looks like the premise is that I go to the court, it sends me to the farmhouse, I find a piece of evidence, and then return to the court and present it, and then go back to the farm, and presumably do that 3 times, and then there's some kind of decision. Right. Did I fall in the hole? I didn't think I fell in the hole.
Yeah, I don't think so. Can you?
Need to interact with snapped plank. Oh, that's my evidence, maybe.
Yeah. Now you collect.
Hey, Jeff. How are you? Hey, Jeff. Very bad. My sheep are in grave danger. Sounds like an issue. Do you think they were trying to say "you" as in EWE?
I think that's a pun, maybe. Issue. That's an issue on you.
But do you think? So do you think I've got some evidence? So I just go back to the court. Press X.
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Please present your first piece of evidence. May I present a broken plank of wood?
That's
evidence.
Another thing you could have.
The planks were rotted. The planks were a trap.
So here you can decide either.
Let's say the planks were a trap. So place the pickle in the Panther fall as it crossed. Trap them. Okay, so
now is the next.
Shall I try? Is that? No, that's a stone. Just a weirdly placed stone. Hello, John.
Okay, he still doesn't have anything.
So Jeff. We've accused Jeff based on the flimsiest possible evidence. Let's try. Oh, Fred. Good day, Fred. Hello there, Bob. That what door was stiff? That door was stiff? Could get in the winter. A likely story. Some detect. I just. Okay. Should I go back to? I can't go back.
You had
I can climb the ladder.
Interesting.
Decent days and sheep death 0. Nice. Oh, I picked that up. Okay, where else? Get on here.
Can you go? Oh.
See, I've got. Yeah. Assessing another problem. Right. I think you probably interact with the ladder. There we go.
Okay. Look at the back of the barn. I think there was something.
Let's have a look. Someone's tucked something away. Oh, you thought you saw something?
No.
Nothing there.
What about inside of the back of the barn? Or go inside.
Picked up that sign.
Yeah, there's.
Oh, you think that?
That thing was that?
Rocks.
Oh, bloodied rocks.
Back. Time for your second piece of evidence. We want bloodied rocks or bloodied rocks. Offensive weapon. Which one of them is that? Is that Jeff or Fred or
Bob?
No, I'm Bob.
No, wait. Oh.
The final bit of evidence. Oh, that's got to be with this fella. What's his name? What's his name again? Oh, it's John. Hi, John. What brings you to this field? Shepherd, what do you think I'm doing?
Okay.
I like John, he's suspicious. Oh, what's that there?
Oh,
Oops.
what's that?
Rope. I found some rope. Lying around. I don't fall off the side. I have a horrible feeling that I would actually just go zipping off.
I mean, at the worst, you can press X and you go back.
Good point, actually, yeah.
Oh, what's...
All right.
Is that... that's just shadows.
Oh, yeah. Okay, they're weird. Oh, because the sun's gone down.
Yeah.
So it's projecting shadows through the floor. Interesting. Well, there's a sheep. That one's all right. So just go back. I've only got one bit of evidence
By
this
talking
time.
to yeah.
Jeff. No, he's not interested anymore.
Okay.
Let's go back and. Here is my evidence. Part of a ladder, part of a net. Oh, that looks like a ladder.
Yeah.
Turn to the farm. The court has found you guilty. John, you're innocent. Please return to your field. And that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I will go back in while we start talking about some of this.
Yeah, okay. So
okay, so let's
graphics-wise.
yeah, graphics wise. So it's a little rough and ready, but I quite like the 3D graphics, and the courtroom's nice the way they've set this out.
Yeah.
And I've got a little bit of music. I've got no sound effects, I don't think. The thing that I think's probably a problem with the presentation is information design. Oh, there's a saw.
Okay.
Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, so information design.
So so for example, so we figure this out. It looks like there's 2 bits of evidence in every time I come in, right?
Yeah.
The bits of evidence look like they move every time I do it, so I can only pick up the saw and the plank to start with.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell me which I've got. It doesn't show me what I have.
Oh, yeah.
Back. Please present your first bit of evidence. May I present the saw to prepare a trap? Okay. Tells me that's very useful. Kind of like. So I feel like I'm a bit kind of lost. I'm just sort of flung into this. It's not kind of telling me my progress. Doesn't tell me when it's possible to return back to the courtroom. So I think that's slightly problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, what would a satisfactory be?
So it's workable, which means effective, but some inconsistencies. I mean, I think it's there at least.
Workable, isn't it?
And yeah, I guess it's not at the good level where it's complete and effective.
So it's satisfactory. Should
Yeah.
we do the rocks again, or should we do the dations? Evidence of healthy sheep. Shepherd is innocent. Sort of see where they're going with this now. All the other problem is it's not quite clear, like what relates to what. So like this thing has happened with the Panther. But they could all be in cahoots, right? I mean, what brings you to this? How are you today, John? I have baked a cake. I see the cake. You met. Sheep hoof.
Wow.
You're on your way, Bob. I'm not entirely sure what these conversations are supposed to achieve, if I'm honest. So I think there's one other piece of evidence that I'm missing, isn't there?
Yeah, it's on your left. You just missed it. It was a small stick on the Oh, that
That.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
The pointy stick. Is my evidence. It is a weapon. I mean, this has been a mistrial. Really? I don't see
So
how
if
this
you
is a
pick
coherent. You present the evidence, but the evidence all tells us stuff. So, am I supposed to be picking the evidence that? Am I trying to find out what actually happened, or am I trying to get the guy to be guilty? And the problem is this: when you pick stuff up, it's not necessarily corresponding to a particular person. So for me, the whole mystery and evidence thing isn't working. It just feels too loose and ambiguous. But anyway, let's talk about the mechanics and controls and things.
before the story.
So the mechanics, there's not a lot. So obviously I've got the bits where I click through here, and I've got the dialogue choices. Those are mechanics. And then I've got the walking around. I can climb ladders, and I can. Oh, I've already done that, haven't I? And
Interact with people, interact with items.
And I can interact with items. So that's a small set, but not totally trivial. And the sort of selection mechanism. The controls are okay. It is buggy, so we've had a couple of occasions where we've had a pretty bad bug. What would a satisfactory be?
So that's simpler game with fewer mechanics, usable controls, may have some minor bugs.
What would a pass be?
A simple game with few mechanics, awkward controls, and may have serious bugs.
So I think the problem here isn't the mechanics. Actually, it's the level. The level design's very simple. But it still doesn't feel like that it's a pass. It sounds like it's probably maybe halfway between the two.
Yeah, I was just thinking that
We've got some serious bugs.
Yeah,
but it's otherwise it's playable.
And that leads us to the story engine. So I guess your job is to pick the item that's more likely to show what happened.
Yeah, but then I get a choice. I get a choice of saying, so it's like the saw. It's like, here's a saw.
Exactly.
I can either say it's incriminating or it's absolutely fine. And again, I just feel a little bit at sea as to why I'm picking stuff and what I'm doing. And but anyway, let's talk about the story engine. So the story engine is about, does the engine impact the gameplay? Does the gameplay impact the engine? So
they do actually also say in the notes about that. So let's first go through what you think, and then I'll.
So in terms of game world impacting the story, the game world does impact the story in that I may or may not find the stuff. Right. So if I go back now, I've only found the rocks. I can't select here. So my narrative choices, I effectively have a narrative puzzle. That's what this game is, right? It's a narrative puzzle based around evidence. Or at least a narrativized puzzle. So there is, I think, some impact. I mean, it's pretty limited, right? So as far as I can tell, the conversations have no. They don't.
No.
So if we're talking about game world to story, the conversations don't have any reaction to what order I'm doing or what evidence I picked up or anything like that. So it is just the evidence choice at the end, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's and so I think for game world to story, what would be a pass?
So it's interesting here. I'm reading what they say. They do say how uh, the player also can talk to the shepherds, which shapes their opinion of them, helping them decide how to pursue the case. So if somebody sounds very guilty, I guess you can be like, yeah, they did it.
They don't really.
They, yeah. Hmm.
If I go with that and I say it's a net. So this is an example of the information problem, in that I've just been told the outcome, but I don't know why. It's not given me any feedback as to why the game has gone that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's problematic. Okay, so in terms of game world to story, then, so we've got
We certainly have some example, or at least we have
yeah,
examples of where the game world impacts the story. Now, is it a few sparse or minor examples, or just a number of examples?
I think we've got sparse examples. They're not minor because they're built into the thing, but yeah. So where would that place it?
That's a pass
Yeah,
with a few sparse or minor
yeah. I
examples.
think it has to be that.
Okay, and that then leads us to story to game world.
The story to game world. That would be my interactions in the courtroom. They have no impact
Yeah.
at all on this world, right? This world never changes.
Well, it does change every time with different evidence and the time
Yeah,
of day, I guess, and the
yes.
people who you can interact with.
That's not as a result of my interactions in the game world. That's just the sort of the level I'm on, as it were.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So my choices in the story world. So for example, here, right? If I pick up the plank and I pick up the saw, right? So that's my actions. So I've done those two things in the game world. So here's a bit of story interaction. So Jeff doesn't acknowledge that I have those at all. There's nothing here um,
Yeah.
to acknowledge that. Doesn't matter what I say with him to him. All right. So, and what we're doing, winning story to game world. So it doesn't matter what I say to him. The game world hasn't changed. It's like, and if I go back to the trial, um, so I suppose you could argue. No, these aren't story. Those are also game world to story. So if I pick one of these and I say used to prepare a trap, so I've accused him now, right? I've gone in the court and I've said this, and I know it's kind of odd because this is being shown in flashback. So you wouldn't necessarily expect Jeff to know that I'm going to do that, but there's nothing in my interactions to Jeff that reflect the decisions I've just made in the narrative, and the
Yeah.
same here, right? So I think, unless you can think of anything, that story to game world is absent.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the,
Because the thing they say in the feedback sheet, it is that uh, the evidence available changes as the story progresses. So each time they arrive at the scene, it looks different. But yeah, I agree with you that that's not actually. I mean, in a way, it is because of the story, but it's not because the player has chosen a different thing. It's just how the
it's the
story
story
goes,
the
I
story
guess.
state. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
okay. I think if we were being generous, then we might say something like, um, uh, it has the it's not absent, but it's not completely zero, if you sort of mean. It's
So a
sort of
poor would be some support for story elements in the game, but the story has no real impact on the game world.
I think that's probably where we are, isn't it?
Yeah, because an absent would be no serious attempt at integrating the story with the game.
Yeah, I think they've tried to connect them together. So yeah, I think probably at the pool then.
And what about richness of choice now? So the player agency.
So this is where I mean about the player agency being really problematic, right?
Yeah.
So I've got two pieces of evidence. When I spoke to the guy in the barn, John, I guess. I don't know who's been accused. So we're accusing Jeff, who's in the dock.
Yeah, that's
So this is what I mean about the kind of the information design is really. So I don't even know who's in the dock. I've got two bits of evidence here. One implies that they look after their sheep. The other one implies that they attacked the panther, right? Imply that they killed the panther. But who? John? But who's in the dock? Is it John? It's not John. It's Jeff. Or all of them in the dock? But so both of these things. So I just and they both go in the same direction, right? So if John killed the panther to protect his sheep, which is better, the evidence that he cares about his sheep or the evidence that he killed the panther? I just don't know. So I find that, so for me the decision making around the choices and then the consequences of those choices, I've got no idea why the judge calls a mistrial or why the judge is there anything in their story structure on their game notes to imply?
Well, yeah, the story structure, they have a very nice mapping of evidence and whether you choose to present it as innocent and guilty, and whether the judge decides it's innocent or guilty, or innocent, convicted, or mistrial. So, for example, if you pick, let's say, the pointed stick at the end, for John, you can present it as innocent, and then the verdict would be innocent, or present it as guilty, and then you would convict John. But if you get the rope, that's where, if you present it innocent again, that's innocent verdict. But if you present it as guilty, that's a mistrial.
Why? Why is it a mistrial?
Yeah, it doesn't
make any sense. Like, yeah, yeah, okay. So for me, what are we looking for as choices? So what would be ideal here, right? So what would be ideal would be we investigate, we start to collect evidence that one of these people did it, right? But then we discover that they did it for a really good reason, right?
Yeah.
Now I've got a grey decision. Do I present the evidence I'm gathered in such a way? So I've got the evidence I've gathered. Do I try to present it in such a way that it makes the person look innocent? Or do I try to present it in such a way that it makes them look guilty, right? So now I have a grey moral decision to make. Am I going to try and convict them or not, right? And I have a skills-based thing to make, which is, can I select the evidence skillfully enough to do either of the things I've decided to do, right?
Yeah.
And you would imagine that it would be a lot simpler if there'd been a single person and some of my evidence would have been through talking to the other people, and I get a bit of a backstory about what's going on. I can imagine this being set up really nicely with some really nice decisions. Perhaps something that shows me the amount of evidence that I've gathered, so I've got 6 bits of evidence, or maybe a bit more if you include some dialogue evidence. And once I've got a certain amount of evidence, I can go back to the trial and do it, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're going with the mechanism they've got, where you go back to the trial and then back again, they need to give me information in the trial. So the people in the dock
Oh
need to
yeah.
say things that then cause me to come back here. You know, you won't want it to be as blunt as this. But if one of them went, "Oh no, there's absolutely nothing in the hayloft, absolutely nothing at all," no, and then
Yeah.
I come back and I'm like, right, I'm going to investigate that hayloft and see what's going on. So there's a really nice opportunity to build an interesting little mystery puzzle here, but the way that it sits, I feel that the choices just feel a bit arbitrary. Um,
Yeah.
and there's certainly no grey choices. It's all mechanical choices, but then that's not really framed properly for me either. So I think it's really problematic. I mean, what would a pass be, for example?
A pass would be some choices, but only a few are interesting choices.
Yeah. So I've definitely got
Mm.
choices, but I wouldn't say they're interesting choices.
Yeah.
So what
And
what would yeah what would be a
a poor
poor?
would be few choices, player agency is problematic.
I think that's probably where we are, isn't it?
Yeah, I think yeah, it is problematic the way you and there are choices. So yeah, that makes sense.
So all three of them are in the court. Yeah. Okay. What feedback did they get? I'm gonna have a little look around this farm while we're thinking about this and see if there's anything else in there that's interesting. In case you've missed something. Um,
So feedback and response.
or have I missed I
Well,
missed pacing
we
and
need
techniques, have I?
yeah,
So let's talk about pacing then. So pacing,
that's interesting. Hmm,
there's a,
it's flat, I
I'd say
would
it's
say.
flat, and I'd say there's no climax. There's a denouement, there's
Yeah,
a outcome, right? But there's no final decision you have to make, right? Um, that's built into the story at all. Um,
yeah.
I think the
Uh,
pacing is just flat. So
so that would put it at a pass, which is spacing unclear or flat.
yeah, I think that's where it is. Um, then techniques. Well, we do have some technique. We've got a little bit of environmental storytelling with the pit and the plank, and then obviously we've got the conversations, although they're not
Yeah,
used very well. Um,
and the cutscene. Would you say that's a cutscene at the start and when you're in the
yeah, I
court?
think so, and in the court. So I
And I
think
think
they've
that's done really well with
that is done
how
well.
it
Yeah,
shows the speaker
yeah.
and camera pans and all that.
So I I, I think the one bit that doesn't work well is the dialogue. So we've got multiple things.
Yeah,
A couple of them work really well. So one of them works really well, the courtroom. One of them is sort of okay, which is the environmental storytelling, and one of them it doesn't work at all, which is the dialogue. So what would a good be?
so a good would be successful use of more than one game writing technique, and a satisfactory is fully successful use of at least one game writing technique. So we're definitely at satisfactory.
Yes, definitely. And you
Uh,
sort of maybe halfway to a good because they've got
yeah,
these other methods, but they're not quite working as they should, perhaps.
yeah.
That takes us to feedback.
So that it's not that much. It's two main points from what I can see. And the first feedback is on my side. It's about reworking the flowchart.
Yeah,
We redesigned the flowchart so that the choices and different timelines are clearer. And I can see. I mean, it's a good chart. Uh, and
that's not.
the
But
next,
we asked them for feedback on the
yeah,
game, not the game notes.
yeah.
Oh, little animated
Uh,
sheep. I like the animated sheep.
So the next one is have emotional relationships between player and characters.
Yeah,
And what they say is you can converse with the shepherds and their personalities may affect the player choice in how to present evidence.
so I think that was a good bit of feedback, and I don't think they've pulled it off. I think it's The dialogue feels sort of a bit superficial and doesn't really tell you anything about the shepherds.
Yeah, in a way. So it does say, or they do say, for example, if you are rude to the shepherds, they will not want to talk to you.
That doesn't tell me anything about the shepherds though, or their character.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, so it sounds to me like they've identified some feedback. We can discount the stuff about the game notes because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But they did get some feedback about the character development and the conversational system, or the content of the system, I should say, and they've tried to fix it, but they haven't managed it. So,
Yeah.
what would be a pass? Ooh,
So a pass was feedback was addressed, but the changes have had limited success.
Yeah, I think it's
Do
there,
we?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they did try to address it, and
yeah, and they did change it, right? And it is better that you can talk to them. So that's definitely
yeah, definitely, yeah.
there, but yeah. Anyway,
And
so
I think
what's
that's.
your final thoughts? What do you reckon?
I mean, it's basically what you were saying earlier. It has a lot of potential of
Yeah,
being a very good, detective style game, and
yeah,
it feels like they were thinking the same things as you were saying, but it's just the execution that they didn't manage to quite pull off.
yeah. It sort of it could have been a really nice little puzzle, but they just needed to think about the actual puzzle a bit more. And I think part of the problem when you build these games is you're so intent on trying to get the game system to work and to function, and you think they've had to build this scene, they've had to let you navigate the scene, they've had to have interactions, the dialogue system, a bit where you choose they've implemented all these systems, and then they've sort of not spent enough time on the content that goes into those systems. So problem. And I can understand it's a really easy mistake to make. But yeah, I can see what they were aiming for, and their aim was true, as it were. But they just didn't quite pull off the shot, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next game. So our final game is called Soul of the Panther, which sounds kind of nice. There we go.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I like the title screens, nice mountains, you get to see our character play or quit. So I've got some nice music in the background going on. Sound effects over the menus and animations on the
That's
menus
nice.
as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, good. Let's play. Oh. Every mission begins with a choice that defines us. Does it though? Okay. Oh, I'm not controlling this. This is like a little cutscene.
Oh, okay.
Now it looks like I'm controlling it. So what have we got going on? So I've got a health bar in the top right hand corner, top left hand corner rather, but with no health at the moment. Am I dead? What's going on there? I don't appear to have anything in the bar.
Or maybe, yeah, we'll see.
I click to try to move, but it swipes the sword, and that sword swipes in the direction I'm facing. So I'm guessing it's WAS to move. Would have been nice to have been told that. There we go. And straight away there's a E. Okay, alright. So having moaned they weren't telling me what to do, they are telling me what to do. E. Welcome to training. I'll be teaching you the basics. I'll be going one by one to make sure to come back to me after you've practiced. Okay. Attack's always there for you. Press left click to swing your sword. There you go. Alright, and I go back to him. You may not know this, but your incredible ability, press right click to use your secondary weapon. And you can click tab to switch between the two. I'm a bit confused. So, oh, there's my secondary weapon. What does tab do? Equipped fire shot. Oh, I've got multiple secondary weapons. Ice shot, fire shot. And I appear to have no limits on my ice shots or fire shots. They're just off they go. Okay, nice. Overwhelmed? Press escape to go to the pause menu. Done. Alright. Hey, you've mastered the basic controls. Training is now complete. You must talk to Sergeant Odysseus about your next mission. Okay. He's doing the same thing. Alright. Where do you think Sergeant Odysseus is? Is he down here? Interact with the mysterious book. The Codex of Arms and Elements. The Blade of Valor, a blade of precision striking with a 15% critical chance and occasionally knocking enemies back with raw force. The Frost Callers, this is a lot of information. Shards of frost pierce through enemies, slowing them on contact and freezing them. The Inferno's Edge, flames scorch your foes. Master these powers. Okay, I want to kill something now. You give me all these tools to kill something. Can I attack these? Oh yes, look, I can. Is this part of my training, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I did all of my training down here. I didn't go up here and learn about the whole frozen thing. Okay, so that was
now
3.
it's on fire. You can see that.
Was it on fire? Was it?
I mean, it was. It's taking the 1 point constantly, from what I can see.
3.
Oh, wait, no.
1.
Then
1. You're right. So what about ice?
2.
2. But it's frozen.
Yeah, probably wouldn't move then.
I do 4. Oh, I always do 4. Okay, alright. So I can freeze them, or I can ice and they set on fire. Oh, here we go. That looks like somebody. Hello? Am I supposed to talk to you? No, I'm supposed to talk to this bloke with the... Percy over here. You did well in your training, but now we need to talk about your next assignment. Thanks, I'm ready. Tell me where to go. Is it about Commander Ares? Those look to me like they're all basically taking me in the same place, but that's fine. I don't know. What's the situation? Take the first one. Received information about a village controlled by enemy forces. It seems critical to their operation. Your task is to infiltrate, assess the situation, and eliminate the commander, Ares. I take it you know who Ares is. You might have heard the stories, but allow me to inform you. I don't remember much. I see, they call him the god of war for a reason, merciless in battle, greedy for power, and feared by his enemies. But it wasn't always the way. There was a time when Ares fought for more than just himself. Okay. We ask about what changed him. Okay, I like this bit of character building. War changes everyone, Percy. This is profound wisdom. But for Ares, it tore him apart. He wasn't always the tyrant that people make him out to be. There was a time when he fought for justice, when he believed in something greater. Now, all he seems to care about is power. The man you once knew may be gone. We ask about Ares' army?
I mean, yeah.
More about his army. The village is under tight control and Ares' forces have a strong presence there, keeping a close watch on everything. Most of his soldiers are former allies. The rest are just men caught in the fight. Don't underestimate them. I was watching key areas, but the real threat comes from the relentless soldiers who will hunt you down without hesitation. No, that's all I need to know. So I've got to penetrate the village, kill Ares. Oh, it isn't just about killing Ares. It's about making sure we don't end up like the shepherds who spared the Panther. Oh. So I think there's some allusion there to our fable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I presume I just leave at this point. Oh, what do you want? Please, pardon? Please do help all those villagers. Okay, thanks, random villager. Here we go. So, music's changed. That's nice. So I'm in a sort of, oops, didn't mean to do that. So I'm in a new environment.
And yeah, it was
strange. So if I go down...
Yeah. Going back, I guess. Or it's spawning you at the spawn point.
That's right. So I'd forgotten there were 2 villages. There we are. Right. Who should we go for? Let's do fireballs.
But there...
Innocent person?
Data.
Please help me, they're after me. I barely escaped. I don't know where else to go. What happened? Who's after you? Ares soldiers. There's quite a lot before we get into the action, isn't there? I have to say, that's kind of... I'm enjoying it, though. Please don't let them take me. Stay hidden. I'll make sure you're safe. Reach the crossroads. Take the north path if you don't want to walk into an ambush. Ambush? I'm kind of... Oh, you're going to fight me? Are you an evil like... person? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I hope so, because I burnt them to a crisp. Oh. Crossroads, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It's around. That's kind of nice.
Ah, that's the crossroads, I think.
Oh, I did take some damage. So the white line is my health.
Yeah.
So, are we going to take the north road?
That's north. Yeah.
Oh, that sounded bad.
Is that a... I don't think I've quite sussed this out yet. Oh, that's a lot of...
Also, I seem to be not... Do you think these are ice people? And therefore, a lot of damage?
Maybe.
Or do you fire shots? Ow! Get off! So their shots are following me round. No wonder they've caused me lots of grief.
Oh, are they? Yeah, I guess. I don't see that.
Yeah, so if I... Oh. Okay, and I've gone back there. Let's hope there's some checkpoints. Yeah, go for it. Stop bothering me. Right. So they don't freeze, which is a bit annoying.
Oh yeah.
They just turn blue. It's not entirely clear what that is. Like the ones that don't fire back, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Eight damage. Yeah, that's the critical. Oh, that one's following you.
Get knocked back as well. That's quite good. Right. Shoots me before I get on the screen.
Can you maybe stop the projectile with your weapon? Like, if you hit the projectile...
They just come after me and they'll get me. You run out of time after a while.
Yeah.
You sort of fires it before you come on screen's a bit of a pain. Yeah, you dodge them and then they come after you. I think they've gone too hard too quick. I think they should have had an enemy here which fired to you but didn't dodge. Didn't dodge, didn't follow you around.
Yeah, that's true. The following is the difficult part.
Just keep getting hit. Don't seem to be doing an awful lot, so run away.
Yeah, maybe just...
They're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Right. Ow, he's got me as well. I've now got no health left. No way of getting any health. Run away. Doing? I'm supposed to be getting to the village. Hope there's some sort of healing before I get to the village. I'm going to be in trouble. Oh, hello. Can you heal me, please? He's a monster. He's full of rage. It blinds him. He'll charge you. If you can bait him into hitting a wall, he'll stun him just for a moment. Please, right, safe. So this is the village. Oh, I've arrived at the big boss fight. I suspect I am not very well prepared for this big boss fight.
Yeah, maybe.
Through. You'll have to kill me. Is he immune to that?
He has a... Yeah, I think... okay.
So that doesn't seem to do anything.
Well, the villager told you something about him charging at a wall. So maybe you need to wait for him to charge.
Was it to get him
stuck
to charge
in a wall, maybe?
I'm doing absolutely no damage to him at all.
Yeah.
Come on, come and charge at a wall.
Almost.
Hit him while he's doing that shaky thing.
Ah. No, no.
Maybe I can... Say again? Get him to charge at a wall or something. Also, these knights appear to be immune to absolutely everything.
Or they have, yeah, they have a lot of...
Yeah, I'm just picking up more knights. Can I run away? Run away? No, there's just thousands of knights everywhere. I've now got hundreds of totally immune knights who just absorb all the damage I can throw at them.
Yeah, I think you just leave them and try to get him to hit a wall, maybe.
Fine, but
oh,
yeah, that's what it seemed to suggest. But the problem is I have to be near a wall to do that.
Ah, there you go.
I didn't do any damage to him, so I've got to get him to hit a wall. I could, my God. So I've got to get him to hit a wall. Once he's hit a wall, I can hit him when he's down. Getting him to hit a wall is really quite difficult.
Yeah, I can... Yeah, that's a very big...
Because he charges at me, so the only way I can get him to hit the wall is to stand in between him and the wall.
Although you are getting better,
I was getting there. I was getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on then, Mr. Stupid Knight.
I mean, yeah, you continue with that. Oh yeah, okay. You're already...
As long as I'm taking less damage, as long as I'm keeping less damage than him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're already halfway there.
Like that.
Yeah, I think just 2 more times and... Oh, is he... us? Oh, yeah.
Change his behavior?
I think he's... Oh, they get... They're frozen. But yeah, he's charging faster from what I can see. Or like, doing it more often.
Do a lot more often.
His rage is blinding him, I guess. Oh, you just
Oh, so close. Right, okay. The problem is I can't really say much while I'm concentrating trying to get him to do this
yeah,
stupid
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Oh, getting him to hit walls not easy. I could do some walls in the middle, I think.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, you can freeze the knights, so at least they leave you alone for a bit. Oh, okay. At least on the second wave of the boss, or the second part of the boss, he attacks more often. It's a bit easier to maybe just stay near a wall and just continually attack him. And he'll... Yeah, yeah.
Ares, you're stronger than I thought, I'll admit that much. I don't want this, Ares. I didn't have to be this way. I fought because I thought I had to be more. I fought, the more I lost. One battle, one friend, one piece of myself at a time. It's what you came to do. Oh, do we finish what we came to do, or do we just walk off? Do we get a diegetic choice? Can I just leave?
You're going around him while he's...
That mercy I sense. Interesting. Ah, that's interesting. I didn't necessarily do that to be merciful, but it looks like freezing him was the merciful thing to do, apparently.
Wow, okay.
Mercy prevented the destruction of the village.
Ah,
Okay.
interesting.
Oh, we're back here. Okay, so it looks to me like that was a diegetic choice, and it's like, do I hit him with my sword, or do I fry him, or do I freeze him? But I'm not quite sure why freezing him was considered a nice thing to do. Shall we start going through the criteria?
Yeah.
Because I think that's I'm interested in some of the choices, and the consequences of the choices are not enormously clear to me at this point. So I'm kind of intrigued to find out what they put in their game notes. But let's start off with the presentation.
Graphics, yeah.
So what do you reckon?
I mean, to me it looks complete and effective. So at the professional level, at least, at the good level.
I think kind of. So what's that? Is that the good level?
Yeah, that's the good level. They have like changing music, sound effects.
Yeah, what would it need to be excellent?
So that's complete, effective, and appealing. And
see,
from what?
Yeah, I think it's there, isn't it?
Yeah, they all. It all fits quite well.
I mean, I think they've got all the things going on. Some of the details are quite nice. It's nicely chosen. It's all consistent. Things like the change in music, plenty of sound effects being used. It all works quite nicely. Information design as well is pretty good. I've got my health bar on the top. I can very clearly see what his health bar is. You can tell enemies that are frozen because they've gone blue. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like here. I think I would put it up at the excellent level. Prizeworthy, I think, is probably, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. What was the prizeworthy?
Yeah, that needs to be with novel or especially creative elements.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite there. It feels like it's a fairly standard, top view, pixel art based, but very well executed.
Yeah, I think so too. And so, what about the mechanics, controls, and bugs? From what I can see, the controls feel good. Or
yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get through this again. Yes, they are actually. So the sword swing, it's nice that it goes in the right sort of direction. So I can sort of tell what I'm going to hit. I can see what the hitbox is. These are quite satisfying to fling out. Entirely convinced that they're... So the fire does more damage, but the ice does less damage but freezes them. So I think all that does is slow them down, but then it doesn't seem to do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. But it did freeze them in the boss fight. Maybe because this one has a hard-coded path and it's a bug or something. I don't know.
Yeah, difficult to tell. Anyway, it's not really controls. I mean, it's very playable. So I mean, that would be the good level, wouldn't it? Playable.
Yeah.
So what would be excellent?
Excellent is higher complexity with complementary mechanics, intuitive controls, and no significant bugs.
So what are my mechanics? I've got my fire bolts and my ice bolts. I've got running around. I've got hitting things. I can interact with things. So I wouldn't say it's enormously complex mechanics, but there's a decent set. What else would be at the excellent level then? That would be
the bugs.
I don't think
or
so.
At least
unless
try freezing that one, or try freezing one of the. Maybe those are immune because
they don't move anyway. I hate these ones.
Yeah.
You can actually kill them. You have to shoot themselves.
I don't think. Oh, that's a lot of health.
They're very strong, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, it's not the controls again. I think if I had a criticism, it would be that the level design probably a little bit lacking. And what I mean by that is that these are way too tough, too early. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I can really defeat them. Or rather, and also I don't see the reason to defeat them. So why would I... Well, let's go the other way, actually. Yeah, I don't see why you'd fight them. Sorry, what was the excellent for controls and mechanics?
So it's higher complexity with complementary mechanics and intuitive controls without significant bugs.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure about the complexity, but I think the controls are nice to use. It is fairly intuitive. I'm definitely playing it. So maybe halfway towards excellent.
Yeah.
Let's go this way.
I was thinking the same.
So I'm going to get ambushed.
Oh, yeah.
To the other way. Yeah, also the fact that in this whole section that this just seems pointless to fight them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why I'm...
Try freezing those ones.
Yeah, that worked.
Oh, they do get slower.
Yeah, that works, those ones. Fortunately, the ones that are my total nemesis don't get frozen.
Yeah, so that leads us to the story engine. And let me see what they've said.
So with the story engine, we're looking for, does the game world impact the story, and does the story impact the game world? So I'm in the game world, I'm running around, I'm shooting things, I'm interacting with things, and in the story, I'm seeing the dialogue, and I'm making dialogue choices. Right? So...
Yeah, okay, this is interesting. So they've said that being given both secondary weapons right at the start of the game allows players to immediately have agency over how they choose to interact with enemies. And the interesting part is that these interactions are accumulated and reflected on the player, whereby choosing to kill enemies with a sword and fire mechanic gradually and irreversibly stains their sword with blood. So they're using the mechanic as a metaphor for moral conflict or honor. I can see what they are trying to do.
Yeah, so okay. I think that's So what they've done there is actually a little bit of environmental storytelling, right?
Yeah.
It's not actually the story engine necessarily.
Oh,
It's,
look at look at this here. This is actually, I haven't seen this before. So they say that this is further enhanced by changing the figure in the main menu to have blood dripping down from their sword after the player has killed over 20 enemies. So that's interesting because it's not part of the game, but
yeah,
the menu changes.
yeah. I
And
mean,
that's kind of, that's an interesting thing.
so okay, right. So I think we'll get to this when we get to storytelling techniques, because I think that would count.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
But this is the story engine. So the story engine is monitoring what you've done, right? So that's game world to story. So there's a very small example there of game world to story, right? So my interactions in the game world affect the environmental storytelling very slightly.
Yeah. So they do say that talking interaction with the villagers in the game world could provide support during the mission. If you choose kinder responses, it gives you advice.
That's not really story.
Ultimate...
That's sort of indirect story to game world, isn't it?
Yeah. And the final one, the ultimate choice of method to attack Ares in the boss fight is completely up to the player. However, the consequences are deeply tied to how the player has interacted with the game world, as it is a representation of their chosen path. So if you formed kinder relationships with villagers, they may use their advice for a strategic, non-violent approach. Or you could go for the brute force.
Okay, so they gave me different advice.
Well, so the advice from the villagers is to not use non-violent approach and be strategic. Well, if you don't listen to them, I guess you can just do brute force.
So what they're basically saying is that there is a story engine, and what it's doing is it's measuring what you're doing and how violent you're being and how nice you're being. And based on that, the villagers will change what they say to you, and your sword will change colour. So there's some examples. That's story to game world, right? Sorry, no, it's not. It's game world to story. So depending on what I do in the game world,
yeah.
So I've got two different effects. Neither of them are particularly massive, but they're both definitely there.
Yeah. And that's all they say about the...
Okay. So I think for for game world to story, it sounds like we definitely have an effect. It's not the biggest effect in the world, but it's there.
Yeah. That would be... Let me see. So if we go at the satisfactory, that's some examples of where the game world impacts the story.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite subtle. And what would a good be?
Yeah. A good... That's a number of examples of where the game world impacts the story in important ways. I don't think we're...
Yeah, I don't think it's really an important way, is it? It's kind of it's just changing little small things about how they react to us.
Although the final choice, I guess, is the thing that it's a game choice and then affects the whole story. Because apparently, from what I can see, if you choose to kill him with the fire attack, there's a whole other path where you have to return to the village and you see what has happened.
That's at the end, yeah. Well, that's true. So we had forgotten. You're right. We'd forgotten the end bit. So there's an end sequence where. Oh, get off!
Oh, you're almost.
No, No, but I've got these stupid things coming.
Oh.
Shot in one of these.
Yeah, you're almost there.
Ah, bloody knights are out of the way. The knights out of the way, those pesky knights. Come on. The knights are... There we go.
Did you get him? Oh,
Did, but... Gonna get me first, I think.
yeah. Oh, you're
Okay.
so close. So close. Oh,
Knights! So annoying. Yeah, so okay, so we haven't seen it because I keep dying like a wuss. So if you get him on the wall like that, his charge sort of halts. So just go around the edges is quite a good strategy, I think.
yeah. Ah, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, the endings.
So the ending does change. So I think we might be good. I think we've got some examples where the game is monitoring what we're doing, it's reacting to the method we're using, and then on top of that, at the end of the game, I get a different ending, and that's an important interaction. So I think we've got the good level.
Yeah. Okay. And then story to game world, that's a bit
The story would be that's
difficult,
to do
I
with
think.
my decisions that I'm making. So whether or not I'm getting any. So in my dialogues, am I getting any kind of? Knights are too tough. I can't get rid of them. If I could destroy them, I would be a little bit more sympathetic. But
Yeah.
just so in the way. Yeah, so I think yeah, story to game world would be my dialogue choices and whether those choices impact anything. And unfortunately, all it means is it changes the advice they give me. I think.
I think so, yeah.
So that's a very minor. That change at all. It's really a change to the story.
Yeah. Ooh. Which does, yeah, and that's and I'm just reading here in case we're missing something. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, you're almost there.
Yeah, but what happens is that he chases me, he runs into a wall, and then the knights get in the way.
Yeah. When he starts attacking very quickly, can you just stay next to him and just, yeah, do that?
Right.
Okay.
So
So can you
we're
kill
gonna
him with the fire?
say blah 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 blah. Quick fire shot. Boom. Inferno's edge. Huh? You can't destroy a king like me. Remember that the next time we meet. Don't hesitate. Okay, so it sent me here. Ah, so that's interesting. So now everything's on fire.
Ah.
Too
Yeah.
too powerful. And just get off, get off. Ah.
At least you don't hit. Oh, yes. I was
So I
gonna
don't
say
have
this,
those
you don't
horrible
have the
ones
ice
that
one.
shoot all the stupid fireballs at me. Oh.
Almost to the left, and then down. You're almost there.
Dead.
Almost there. Almost there. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Oh no, the village is on fire. It's like the Shire all over again. Oh, and he's back.
Oh wait, that's
Now I can
wait. That's
just get him. Died on your mission was a failure. Oh, okay.
that's.
So
I think
okay,
that
so
ending is on purpose.
yes,
Oh, and look at your sword. It is bloody.
it is blooded. Yeah. Okay, so what did we do? We did game world to story, didn't we? And we were just thinking
Yeah.
about
So story to game world.
So I think part of the problem here is that again they've used this diegetic choice. So I make the choice by firing in the game world, right? So do I shoot him with the fireball or do I shoot him with the ice blast? And that's what determines the outcome. So ironically, while that is an example of kind of game world to story, it's also sort of simultaneously a bit of a sort of story to game world, right? Because depending on the choice I make, I then get a new bit of level, I get a new fight. I think the agency is a little bit problematic because it basically is saying, would you like to end the game early or would you like to play a new exciting chapter? But that's kind of on the agency one. So I think there's definitely some examples of story to game world. It's just they're done through diegetic choices and therefore doesn't feel that way. What would a satisfactory be?
That is exactly that. Some examples of where the story impacts the game world.
I think it would be satisfactory. It feels to me like what they've missed out on is making the dialogue choices a bit more profound.
Yeah.
So does that take us on to agency?
Richness of choice.
So agency is a little bit problematic. I'm not entirely sure. So I've got obviously my choice of whether or not to fireball him or ice bolt him at the end, right? And that is a proper choice, but it's not obvious that will happen. So there's nothing to say. Oh, if you ice,
Yeah, exactly.
ice him, it's merciful. It's like I didn't first time I did it. I didn't even do it intentionally, really. So that's problematic. So, do I want to spare him or not? Why would I want to spare him?
Yeah, exactly.
The story hasn't done enough to build up. It's like the choices of what to do. So it's monitoring the way that I'm fighting, but no one has said there's any difference between these things. So why would it care if I'm using my magic or my sword? No one has said to me, you're. I could have set this up like you're following the footsteps of your father. He didn't believe in any of this magic stuff, right? And then it becomes a right. Am I following the legacy of my father by using my sword, or am I my own man and using my magic kind of thing, right? But that's not.
Yeah,
that's not set up. It's just like, you've got fire bolts and ice bolts and a sword, and then it monitors what you're doing. So I think the agency's a bit problematic.
At the start there was that little book that explained your 3 weapons. I don't remember what it said, but maybe it was something about how ice is merciful, or
so. But I mean, we can go back and check.
yeah, because at least then it's a bit more. It makes sense. Although again, it's kind of out of the way.
Yeah.
And you don't
sort of didn't necessarily remember it, but at least it's there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, there is some. There are some attempts to manage agency. So we've got some false choices in there where you're taking these dialogue decisions. Um, I think they might be monitoring how you're reacting to people to see whether you're friendly or not.
A bit, yeah.
Hate those knights. Hate them with an absolute passion.
So let me see at the
Oh yeah.
satisfactory, a number
Yeah.
of interesting choices, and I think you saying that it's a bit problematic. We're not there. A pass would be some choices, but only if you're interesting. And
Yeah, I think that's they're kind of making their way there. They're trying to make that final choice at the end an interesting choice, right? But I'm not convinced that they've pulled it off.
yeah, exactly. So that's a pass.
I can kill any of these knights.
Yeah, I don't think so. Or at least.
I don't care about Ares. He's never done anything to me. But these knights, my god, they're irritating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do you think so? A poor would be if you choices player agency is problematic, and maybe in between a poor and a pass.
I think I hit quit by accident.
Yeah.
That's a bit. That's an interesting one, isn't it? So obviously, it doesn't matter too much to us. But you can imagine if you did that in a real game, that'd be quite annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's at least one interesting choice, but player agency is problematic.
So in between a poor and a pass, it feels like.
I think kind of. Yes, I think it probably is. Unfortunately.
Can you check the book now? Just to refresh.
Oh, I had totally forgotten about the book. I was thinking it was the guy at the beginning. But go and have a look and see what you're right. Because I think if there's a hint in there, it might be slightly better. 15% critical. Shards of frost pierce through, slowing them on contact and freezing foes solid on lethal hits. Oh, okay, so it slows them and then it freezes them only if you get a critical. These powers, so there's nothing there, is there?
Okay, no, yeah.
Right, and I'm guessing it's your secondary weapon. No, there's nothing. Yeah, I think we have to go between a poor and a pass. I just don't think that you're making decisions in a kind of informed way.
Informed, yeah.
And these choices don't also, they're false choices, which is a way of, a lot of false choices, but which is a way to manage your agency, but sort of, yeah, they're used a lot.
Yeah. That leads us to pacing, I think.
So, pacing and techniques?
Yeah.
So pacing.
Pacing, I think you did mention how it gets a bit too hard.
Yeah.
There's
definitely an attempt at pacing. So you have the village where you learn your stuff, you come out here, and you fight. I mean, these guys are definitely easier. I'm messing it up like anything, but yeah, they're easier. And then you get a bit of practice. So this is kind of like a fairly low level, and then you get these guys that are significantly harder. So I think these are the ones where it's not too much, but it's not dreadful. It's just
so even with that, there is ascending pacing, and I think a clear final pick actually with the boss battle.
I think there is.
And
yes, I think there is, and there's even that little secret bit at the end where you can Kind of you get a little lull and then you get the final battle. The problem is, and this again comes to the agency, is that it's possible to finish the game without seeing that really interesting piece.
Yeah.
If I try to kill them, then I just get killed. So my only sensible option is just to run past them, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think, I think we have ascending pacing with a clear final peak. That would be good, I think.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's with more than one peak.
Yeah,
So
and they've got
ascending
excellent
pacing.
on one route, right?
Yeah.
So let's. I would say maybe halfway there, because they've got a really nice idea, but unfortunately they've only managed to realise it on one of the branches.
Yeah, maybe the fire one, you have to go back to the village
and fight them again.
get destroyed. But the ice one, you again go back to the village, but then something different. So yeah, I can see.
Maybe he comes to help you against some other foe.
Maybe, yeah, stuff like that. And then I guess that leads us to storytelling techniques, which I've seen quite a few.
I think this is one of the ones they've done really well, actually. So we've got a really nice sort of setup at the beginning of the game with that sort of big text that appears on the screen. We've got the dialogue. We've got a little bit of environmental storytelling.
Cutscenes, or at least at the start there was.
some cutscenes, and I think they're relatively effective. So I think what we have is effective use of more than one technique.
So that puts it at the good level. Successful use of more than one game writing technique. An excellent would be use of more than one game writing technique and mechanics support theme.
So mechanics are. They've tried to do it with the ice and fire thing, right? So this idea of you choosing your mechanics is like choosing are you hot or cold, basically, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure they've entirely pulled it off. It feels kind of I just don't get the impression that the firing these things is good or bad, really. So I think they needed to make. If you're going to do that, you need to make one really bad, like collect the dead souls of enemies to fire at your foes or something.
Yeah, that does sound.
I think they've tried to do that. They've tried to get it, but they haven't quite managed it. But I do think that it's still at the good level. They did a really nice job.
Oh yeah.
Of kind of telling the story in a variety of different ways, using a number of different techniques. Yeah, it's nice.
And let me check the feedback now. So, in the first lab, we discussed our initial ideas for the
I tried
plot.
killing him with a sword and see how that goes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's the last one we. So you can't. You have to choose between.
So if I do the ice one. Don't get any more game, it just ends.
Yeah.
Saying about being problematic. Okay, so I guess that takes us to their feedback, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they do say that in the first lab they discussed the plot and potential narrative techniques. We mentioned the possibility of switching between different characters partway through the story to the demonstrators. However, we were told that this could lessen the impact of some of the decisions, and as such, in later iterations, our narrative structure will remove this feature entirely. So that's good. In the second lab, we considered the possibility of adding power-ups to the game and their narrative impact. This involved having two separate paths, each representing and containing a different power-up. The demonstrators, however, said that the player may not fully understand the consequences of their choice when choosing a path. So So what they did was just give the abilities at the start of the game.
I mean, so the first
Which,
one about swapping characters, I don't quite understand that. I suppose what they're saying is it gives you less opportunity for character development, but I don't think it's impossible.
yeah,
So I don't understand that feedback. And
I mean, it says that the feedback was it could lessen the impact if not done well.
yeah, which
And they
that's probably
just
fair.
decided to.
But I think you might have been better off doing it well rather than just not doing it at all. Or these guys are much harder than the last one as well. If you notice, I killed the last one.
Yeah. But yeah, so and the second one is also interesting because so the feedback was the player may not fully understand the consequences of their choice when choosing a path.
Yeah.
So they just give the power-ups at the start, which again.
But then the player doesn't understand the consequences of the choice of using the power-ups. So I don't. I think they've just sort of commuted the problem. They haven't made it go away.
Yeah. And the final one is we explored the possibility of increasing player agency through pacifist and violent choices. One suggestion was to tie the existing fire and ice power-ups to the different playstyles. This includes making the ice weapon less powerful but non-lethal, and conversely the fire weapon more powerful but lethal.
Yeah, I can understand what they've done. What they needed to do was they needed to make the ice weapon just freeze your opponents in place. So then you've got a choice. Do you kill them? Or do you freeze them and walk past them? But then you have to make sure that those two choices are roughly the same. So you have to make them quite easy to kill. So now you've got a real choice, right? Am I freezing them and walking past them? Or am I killing them? Right? It's a real choice because it's no harder to do either, really. Or maybe it's slightly more bother to freeze them, perhaps. Maybe I have to
do it 2 times or something.
A couple of times. Or,
yeah.
See what they're doing. They just haven't quite pulled it off.
Yeah.
So in terms of their feedback, I think that they've articulated their feedback and they've made changes, but I don't think those changes have been particularly successful.
Yeah. So that puts it at the pass, I think, which is feedback was addressed, but the changes had limited success.
So particularly this one where they said instead of doing the pass, we'll use it based on your choices, and it's like, well, exactly the same problem exists, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts on this one.
I like the premise, and it seems fun. Although a bit hard.
It's quite engaging to play, but yeah. Do you know what? I think they made quite a nice little game. As a playable thing, it's quite fun to play, and this boss battle is quite satisfying. And yes, it's difficult, but it's not impossible to win. Best type of boss battle, right? So they've done a really good job of getting that measure right, and I really like what they've tried to do with the ice and the fire, and tying that up to kind of aggression and sort of mercy. But they haven't quite got that mechanically into the game. That's the problem. So because it doesn't feel like you're being merciful when you're using the ice, then the choice at the end doesn't make sense, and all the resonances kind of collapse. So I really like what they were trying to do, but they just needed to push it further mechanically, I think, with those two choices.
Yeah, just a bit more.
Okay, I think that was our final game. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.